Are you?
Welcome to the 28th episode of Add Water and Stir podcast. I am Adopted Black Mom from the blog of the same name. I'm joined tonight by my wonderful co-host who cannot stop giggling on the other end, Mimi from the blog Complicated Melody. What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. We will get into the giggle fest in just a moment. But you are listening to the Add Water and Stir podcast, where we have candid conversations about fostering, adopting, and parenting children of color. Our goal is to give voice and visibility to families like ours who are often left out of the mainstream adoption conversations. Join in the conversations as we talk about the impact of race, class, and privilege on raising healthy, well adjusted brown and black children. So tonight, our docket includes a couple of topics. The first topic that we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to hopefully debunk some myths about birth mothers. And we've also got some mail in our second segment. Sadly, we will not talk about, there's a little change in the schedule. We won't talk about mommy blogs tonight, but we will set that aside for another day. But we've got some mail that we want to talk about. We got some email. So we're going to try our hand at answering a listener question. And then, of course, we got to get a little crunk in the wine down portion where we
I have
talk
my
about I've
wine.
got my wine too. It's a heavy pour kind of night. And the wine down where we talk about what's happening in pop culture. So if you are watching us live, feel free to drop us a question in the Q&A chat. Or you can tweet us at AWAS pod. That's AWASPOD. So, Mimi, what's been going on?
You know what? I'm feeling good, and it could be the wine, but I just think it's my life is going well. So I'm feeling pretty happy tonight. I have two birthday parties this weekend. Oh,
Kid birthday parties?
yes. Oh no. I shouldn't be like that, right? I should be excited, but those are not fun. You're
Yeah.
like at these like bounce places or little gyms or things like that, right? And they're germy, and then all the kids the kids are all running around just karate chopping each other and doing all kind of funny stuff. And then at the end, they like try to cram everybody into this really little room where they eat like pizza or and cupcakes or whatever. And all the parents are just hovering around like the kids cannot eat pizza by themselves. It's just, I'm just like, take me away from this. Oh, so we have two of them. And Nana has been so excited. I have never,
Really?
I mean, you would have thought like she's a teenager, like getting ready. She's been talking about this girl's birthday party for 2 weeks. We almost had to ban the conversation. I'm going to her
Wow.
birthday party. And one of the things that's really interesting about her, she's 3, and she doesn't really have a good understanding of the difference between today, tomorrow, and yesterday. So every day she's like, I'm going to G's birthday party tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I have to tell her every day, like, no, it's not tomorrow.
She's like, it's I'm supposed to be on the turn up. You mean it's not tomorrow?
It's not tomorrow.
Dang.
So yeah, that's what's going on over here. What about you? What's going on with you?
Well, we are in high school, and I think high school is going to kill me.
Oh,
So
have a sip.
because oh man, like yeah, sip to high school.
Mhm.
So it's the second week of high school. First and second week have gone actually very well. She seems to enjoy it. She has Hope is 14. She's in ninth grade, so we're just starting. Being in band, marching Eagles. Woohoo! It was a wonderful way for her to have a nice social network of good kids going into school, so that alleviated a lot of my stress. Um, but as I've written about and mentioned before, band parenting is a lifestyle. At least the band director is cute, Band Bay, as I named him recently. Um, you know,
Bay and Bay.
Fan Bay. Yeah, I kind of, Elihu doesn't have light eyes, but I've always had little thing, little light hazel eyes. But anyway, anyway, he also is very, very kind, and is really taking a special interest in making sure that Hope does well. We've already had some injuries that we're dealing with, like because somebody didn't want to exercise and do stuff. So, and she is one of the things that hopefully maybe one day we'll talk about. And I don't know if you've experienced this with your little one, but sometimes kids will make up growth that maybe their body is suppressed in an effort to protect them while they were in foster care. And so she has gained like 25 pounds since she's been with me, but you can't see it. Like it's just all beanstalk. And she's actually lost a size in the last month with this little bit of exercise. But her muscles, because she doesn't want to do any exercise, her muscles are literally too short for her skeletal system. So she is at risk for some stress fractures. So I'm like, you mean to tell me I'm 42 years old, I get up, I work out and stuff, I can touch the floor, you can't touch the floor, and you done almost broke a hip? Really? So anyway, so we're dealing with that. And
hey, ABM.
Yeah.
You got to speak into the mic a little more.
Oh, right.
Yeah, okay, so to the listening audience, we're trying to upgrade our sound. We're trying to make the podcast a little better, And so ABM has just gotten her new mic and did not follow directions.
I don't. So, my boss will tell you that I don't follow directions either. But I try to figure out how to make it work. So I am now holding said mic because I refuse to be like the hunchback of Adwater and Star for the next hour, all hunched over the mic. So anyway, high school is interesting, but homework and activities, and it's just, I'm really feeling it already. And now I can't even say, thank God it's Friday. It's like, thank God it's Saturday. Like, because tomorrow there's a game, which means that we won't get home until after 10.
Whew, that's the life. I feel bad complaining about my little 2 birthday parties.
Well, and here's the thing for both of our events, they don't serve alcohol at either one. That's a problem for me.
That's real disrespectful right there. So
I got to get a flask. Anyway, so that's my solution.
I think we should get a flask, AWAS pod flask. They will be on sale on the website.
They'll be on the website. So yeah, I need a flask for these events. But anyway, so that's been what's been going on. Things are good. We've also got crushes and things that 14-year-old girls do. Makeup. Oh, one last thing in one last little bit of update. So Hope took class pictures, her portraits yesterday, and she showed me her new school ID versus last year's school ID. And I almost cried. Because I was like, oh my God, like last year she looked like a kid. And in this year's picture, she looks like a young woman. And I'm like, oh,
that's beautiful.
Oh, I got to get a deadbolt for her door.
And lock down the phone.
Lock her down. So yeah, it was just really a sweet moment. We've had a great week and had a lot of good mom and daughter time too. So,
and she is beautiful too. So she doesn't. So the good thing is she doesn't know it yet, but Hope
she doesn't.
Stunning.
She's a stunner. And like, if one more grown person tells me this summer she didn't really filled out, I'm like, okay, I got it. Like, does like.
Negative.
Do they sell burqas on Amazon? So like, just need to cover her up because I'm like, you're a dirty old man. You're a dirty old woman. Anyway.
Men and women.
Men and women, like, yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what's been going on in our world. So in our first segment tonight, we're going to talk a bit about birth mother myths. And so in the latest episode of Black Ink Crew, which is a new reality show on VH1 based on a black tattoo parlor in Harlem. One of the most beloved characters, Sky, revealed in a heart-wrenching confession that she had placed two children for adoption when she was only 14 years old. Birth mothers are one contingent of the adoption triad that I don't think gets a lot of attention. Or kind of their only a slice of their story is told, and their narrative is usually not created or constructed by them. So because of that, and because of their relative, or the community's relative likelihood of ignoring them or creating their narrative for them, a lot of myths have kind of crept up about what it must be to be a birth mother. And so because of this kind of big revelation on Black Ink Crew, we wanted to talk a little bit about the show and talk a bit about some of the things that we've learned about birth mothers during our time as parents and kind of some of the articles that are out there. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about the Black Ink Crew's Sky?
Yeah, so we'll put a link on the show notes to the actual video, but Sky is, she's one of my favorite characters on the show. I don't watch it a lot, but I check in from time to time. But she went to go get she went to the doctor's office. I'm not going to tell her business. I'll let y'all see it. So she went to the doctor's office.
It's on a reality show. She can tell her business. Okay.
So she went to go get a Brazilian butt lift. And the doctor's assistant asked her if she had any children. And there was like this slight pause where she said no. She was there with her friend, Sassy. So there was a slight pause. She said no. So the doctor's assistant kind of, looked at her again and asked her some more questions and then, let it go. They ushered Sassy out of the room, and then the doctor came in. And when the doctor came in, she really just broke down and said, I told your doctor's assistant before, your assistant, that I didn't have kids, but that's not true. I had two children when I was 14. And she just starts sobbing. And you know how they go to the confession piece of it? It just pierced my heart, because she talks about how she tried to raise her children. She loves them dearly, but she just couldn't do it. And she just breaks down and she just folds over completely and sobs. And every time I see it, I tear up, because I can only empathize, I can only sympathize with her. The question of, do you have children? And being around people who don't know your story, and, you may not want to deal with the questions. And so you say no, but then you might feel like you're denying your children. And it was really clear that she wanted to tell the world, like, I do have two children. I love them dearly. I did what I thought was best for them. And it just, I don't know, it just really struck me as very powerful for other birth mothers who may have placed their children with adoption or have other family members raising them, and to have someone else that at least is talking about their story in a very visible way. What about you? Did you get a chance to look at the video?
Yeah, I looked at the video, and I got kind of emotional towards the end of it myself, because it was very clear that a couple of things, I guess, were my takeaways. One, she tried to parent. She wanted to parent her children. She loved and loves them now. She hates feeling like she has to deny them. But I think that I got a sense that there was not shame that she had children, but shame that she didn't have what she needed to raise them.
Right.
And found herself in a position where she had to make a decision to do placement. And she doesn't regret that choice. She feels like it was the right choice. But if given, different resources or given a different circumstances, she absolutely would have continued to parent her children. And I think that for me, I was like, well, gee, what is it that what is it that birth mothers need in order to, parent their kids, and beyond that, the fact that some of her closest friends didn't know, and that she was just carrying this around, which clearly the floodgates opened, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just really, really emotional. It
Yeah,
was really emotional.
I think what continues to strike me is, a lot of times people are in crisis.
Yeah.
In crisis, and perhaps just a little bit of support, a little bit of time, a little bit of love, a little bit of acknowledgement, a little bit of something could help someone just move through that place to get to a point. Because what happens is you're in crisis, maybe you can't parent at the time, maybe 6 months or a year from now you can parent, but because you happen to be in crisis, you no longer get to see your children anymore forever.
Yeah.
I struggle with that. Even as an adoptive mom, I struggle. I struggle with this concept. And it was definitely, like I said, touching and powerful for me.
Well, it also reiterated, we talk certainly a lot about loss for our kids,
Right.
and the levels of loss that they've experienced prior to them, legally becoming our children. Um, but no matter what the circumstances are around a birth mother's decision to parent, or to place, there's still some loss there in that placement, and that was visually striking, in Sky's video confession, that she continues to wrestle with loss, and that this happened, close to 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of emotion that welled up in her, is something that we see in our kids.
Right.
But as adults, some of us have greater capacity to kind of live with that and not act out. It was really, really moving. And it did really, her confession and the emotional, expression that went with it really did, to get to our topic, really busted some myths. So there's a couple of articles, and one of them, from one of my favorite bloggers, Scary Mommy. She blogs about a lot of different things, but she has kind of 12 myths, and she talks about, the fact that birth mothers don't give up their babies; they make a choice to place, their children, if we're talking specifically about, infant adoption. But even if there is, a loss of a child through other situations, like in my situation, there was a TPR, I don't doubt that Hope's mother loves her. I just I really, in my heart, believe that she's out there somewhere and she loves her daughter, and for whatever reason, she was unable to parent.
Mm-hmm.
So So that other myth is, that they don't love their kids, and that they don't care. Because I think that I think they do. I mean, I think they do, and there are various ways, positive and negative, of showing and demonstrating that.
I think though, adoption is such a complex. I'm sorry, were you still talking?
No,
Okay.
go ahead.
Adoption is such a complex situation, for all parties involved in it. But so far we've heard a lot about adoption from the parenting perspective, and we're adoptive parents too. But it helps, right, with the whole adoption narrative if it's easy to think about a birth mother not loving their child, right? So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of these myths that we're going to talk about continue to be pervasive, not only within our community of adoptive parents and adoptive professionals, but within the larger mainstream narrative, because it fits with the mother doesn't love their child, and therefore you are destined to receive the child, as the person who needs to take care of them. So,
Right, right. Yeah, some of the other ones are, that they're selfish, that they're troubled, they're promiscuous, they're all drug addicts. And, there may be individual narratives that hold pieces of that. But generally speaking, these are women that, get pregnant and find themselves in a situation where they decide that they want to make some choices. I mean, and we all have choices in that situation. And they make choices that are different than a lot of people, but that doesn't make them a saint or a sinner. And that's one of the things in kind of the promos for tonight's show. I said, oftentimes when you look at some of the support networks online, you'll see, oh my goodness, I love our birth mother. Like, she was put on this earth to make me a mom. Well, no.
right.
She was certainly a character in advancing that narrative, but like that, I'm sure that her personal story is bigger than that.
Right.
And she wasn't, her destiny also wasn't to be kind of this sinner who found herself in this awful predicament that still somehow made her a saint by making you a parent. It's just, it is a lot more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm. And I think it should be noted that this article also is really referring to infant adoption, right? Because when we're talking about birth mothers, typically we're talking about women who choose to place their children upon birth, right? So that's where the term birth mother comes from. But
Right.
there are plenty of myths around mothers or parents of children who are coming through the foster care system too, so
Oh,
that might be
absolutely.
something else that we need to address. And some of these probably relate to that too, that that they're troubled or druggies. I know for sure that there are some parents who get caught up in the foster care system who are not druggies, who may themselves be victim of some type of domestic violence and then are not able to meet the requirements, which there can be quite a few, of getting their children placed back in their care. So there are plenty of myths, not only just about birth mothers, but about any parent of an adopted child.
Yeah, I mean, it does, especially when we are talking about, I guess, older children, it does make us, it should make us think about, what do families need to be successful?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just money, but really kind of what kind of support systems really do support families and keeping families together. And certainly on previous podcasts, and I think in blog posts, we've both talked about what feels like the risk of families of color kind of being more susceptible to having interactions with child protective services or other kind of social services agencies that question their ability to parent and make it kind of challenging. Kind of, once you get into the system, it seems that it's kind of hard to get out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You kind of get swept up in a whirlwind. And while we all say that the goal is reunification, with the reunification of a family, sometimes the hurdles are such that it's very protracted, it's very long, it can be very expensive, and is that really the best way to advance kind of reunification and supporting the healthy, the development and sustainability of healthy families?
Absolutely. So I would definitely recommend that you just check out Black Ink and See Sky's revelation. And just, to me, it's just something to sit with a bit. We do feel blessed because we have been blessed with a child. We are parenting, we are mothering beautiful children. But again, I think we just always have to sit with and acknowledge that there is grief there, there's loss there. And for, one side to be, happy, or that there's another side that of the triangle that is not, so I
Well, and
don't know.
also that that person has a whole family around them, and we don't really know what that support system looks like. But I mention it just because now we're kind of one big happy family, with members of Hope's paternal family. um, you know, I see what that loss looked
Right.
like, and I
Absolutely.
see what reunification of a child with her family looks like on both sides. It's very emotional, but it is a beautiful thing. It's challenging sometimes to navigate, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because I see Hope's loss. But last month I had the opportunity to look in her grandmother's eyes, and I saw what it meant to her to be reunified with her granddaughter. And it I can only imagine what that must be like for families that kind of wonder what happened to their children, whether they're the birth mother or birth father, or extended families, and whether it's a placement, a voluntary placement at birth or later, or an interaction with the criminal justice system and family services. There is enormous loss there, no matter the pathway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so be nice to birth moms.
Yeah. And I think, I'm sure we'll revisit this topic again, because there's so much that we can unpack underneath that. And I think a lot of us as adoptive parents who may not have any information about the parents of our children often walk around with our own fantasies about what that would look like. And I think that's something that we need to unpack too, because again, it's like I said, I empathize, but that's my own fantasy that I've created in my head about a person that a situation that is a or was in a sympathetic situation. But we're all creating those kind of images in our head about what the parents of our children are like. So
Yeah. So, as we move on to our next topic, we have a number of articles about birth mother and birth parent myths, including one written by a birth mother, very
oh
specifically by
yeah.
a birth mother who, yeah, I mean, I really appreciated the article because
Hmm.
she broke it down.
She did. It was excellent. Maybe one
you
day we'll
know
have to actually break this, unpack this article bit by bit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was really, I think that I would imagine, just kind of on my routine surfing of online support, air quotes, group, around adoption, that this was probably seen as a very provocative piece. But basically, she was like, I am not your gestational carrier.
Hmm.
Like,
Right.
that is not my job. And this is something that destroyed my own family, that this was not my destiny. And it really is a really, I found, proud pushback of this narrative of the saint center kind of complex that I think that we, as a larger adoptive community, place on birth mothers. But yeah, she breaks it down. So
Can we talk about this just a little bit? I know we were trying to move on,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
there
Nope. Go
there is
ahead.
a piece in here that really struck me here, because there's this myth that she writes about: birth mothers were destined to get unexpectedly pregnant for the benefit of infertile couples who need babies. So what she says is that she's not religious, and yet this myth plagued me for a long time. The ladies at the agency fed me the idea that by looking through parent profiles, I would find the perfect couple who was just meant for my son, thereby setting me up to choose people with hopes of parenthood. So I would feel obligated to go through the adoption rather than chill out and think more about my options as my pregnancy progressed. Um, I'm going to jump a little bit. And then, so after after she picked a couple and she told them that she chose them, the agency encouraged her to sit back and relax with the knowledge that everything was as it should be. This marginalized the guilt I felt and made me feel content for the time being. After all, you don't mess with destiny. And I think that's, it struck me because it's it's something that we talk about a lot, this kind of like, things turn out how they're meant to be, or what's for you is for you. And, you
Mhm.
know, I was in the right place at the right time to be able to parent this child. So, this kind of notion of destiny and predestined, that someone has to go through a loss in order for you to have a gain, is a hard one to reconcile, especially with what she's talking about. And I don't know how, I don't have any answers. It just really kind of struck me because we do say that, and people say that to us all the time, like,
Okay.
you were meant to,
Yeah.
be in Nana's life, or that's your daughter or girl. And so
Yeah.
I don't have an
I
answer
feel
for
that
that,
too.
but
Well, yeah, I won't say I have an answer for it, but I will say that what's unspoken in those couple of paragraphs that she writes about that particular myth is an indictment on the ethics around adoption agencies
yes.
and what their treatment of pregnant women, expectant mothers, and frankly, the lack of support they get to try to parent. And that it really can be, not always, because I think that there's some really great agencies out there that provide some wonderful services for everyone that's involved in the adoption triad. But I do think that what she points out is kind of this hypocrisy of you're supposed to be a really family oriented, um, there's a really pervasiveness of Christian privilege in the adoption community. I won't get into that. Like I
Yeah,
could go
that's
into
another
that.
topic for another
That's another
day.
topic for a whole other day. But this notion that yeah, you're kind of destined to be my gestational carrier because I am unable to do that particular bodily function, and it really is an ethical. It's not even an ethical dilemma. It's just kind of, it feels, and it doesn't pass the smell test. It really just doesn't. And that she, finds herself in this situation where it really is manipulative and really doesn't give her the time, thought, and messaging that allows her to feel really confident in the decision that she's making to place her child. And yeah, we will have to unpack that.
I think so, because it's not just, it is related to an indictment of the adoption industry from this portion of infant adoption. But I think just this concept of, where does the concept of destiny
Mm.
fit in the adoption narrative, no matter how you came through adoption, whether
Oh,
you
yeah.
came through foster care or whether you came through, you were adopted a child that was placed with you at birth, the concept of destiny of, I was meant to raise this child, I was here, whatever I went through, my struggles with trying to become a parent, and then your child's trauma, you know,
Yeah.
then it all converged. So we all meet in this happy middle. So it just struck me that this whole concept of destiny, and maybe it's just that we need to find better language, because destiny makes it seem like people are supposed to go through all this in order to get here.
Well, yeah. I mean, when people say stuff like that to me, I try to be gracious in the moment, but believe it's a microaggression. I believe it's an adoptive microaggression where it really dismisses my personal story and whatever tragedies led me to turn to adoption. It certainly is very dismissive of Hope's experience and those of her first family. And it just, there was just some really messed up stuff. So really, that's destiny. Oh, okay.
Right.
All right.
So
Yeah. So
Another time, another day. We'll go
another time.
dig deep, a
Yeah.
little dig deeper into that. So
Yeah, so we'll post that. We certainly will have the link to that particular article, which is called "The Real Myths About Birth Mothers." It's published last fall by a blogger named Everyone Acted. So but it really is for what I thought a really pretty remarkable piece from a birth mother. So without further ado, we will close that segment. And maybe would you like to get into the listener feedback since
yes.
Dee wrote you?
Yes. So, hey D, I hope you are listening. We did get some listener feedback, and actually, we got a question. So I said, well, we've never really gotten a direct question before, so we'll try our hand on this. So this is our first Ask Add Water and Stir podcast. so so our listener D wrote us with the following. Hi Mimi and ABM. I came across your blog while searching the web for adoptive resources and I'm glad I did. I'm a big fan of podcasts and it's cool to have found one of color dealing with the foster adoptive experience. I'm a single Black male who has been trying to adopt for what feels like forever. Even though your podcast is from the Black female perspective, while listening, I'm grateful for the information learned and humor you bring to topics we deal with on this complicated journey. I live in a small state with limited resources, and I'm with one of the only agencies who deals with foster adoption of younger children. Their caseload is high, and my caseworker is the only one who is at the agency on the adoptive side. She's practically fresh out of college. Most times when I ask her a question, I'll get back to you on that. And sometimes she does, and most she doesn't. What's more frustrating is that because of her color, she has no idea of the many of the nuances we have as African Americans, and I feel she would love to dump any child for the sake of freeing up her caseload. I started this journey for a lifelong commitment to a child who's a good fit for me and vice versa. Right now, in the waiting stage, it's complicated, dealing with a flawed system and an agency who I feel just doesn't get it. But after all the paperwork, waiting, and the fact that they are as good as it gets around here, I feel stuck. Do you have any advice? So, first of all, thank you, Dee, for writing us. And we are so glad to be able to provide you support as you go through the foster adoption journey. We want to just come on, usher you in and welcome you to the family. I was able to send an email back to D to get more details. So, like he stated, he's a single Black male. He's working with a public nonprofit agency, and he was originally trying to do straight adoption, but now is open to foster adopt. He wants to adopt a toddler boy, like a 0 to 2 maybe, although he's or a toddler, although he's licensed from birth to age 10. And so what I get from his email, I feel like the gist of his question is, what can I do to help the process keep moving when dealing with the foster care adoptive system complexities, having an understaffed agency, and a caseworker that might not be working with his best interests in mind? So I thought of a couple things that I could give him as advice. So the first thing I thought, and ABM, feel free to jump in anytime, is one of the things I think can help when you're dealing with, well, first of all, you're in the wait. That's just it. That's the main thing. It is the wait. You are just in the wait, and there is not too much that you can do to speed up the wait. You just are there, and we've all been there because you're anxious to love on a child, and the system is what the system is, and you just have to have some type of trust in the system that is working as it's designed, or as it's not designed, but it is moving forward. But some of the things that helped us during the wait was especially dealing with a caseworker that I might have felt like wasn't giving us the right level of exposure, was a volunteer at our agency. And they'll have like things like Christmas parties or giveaways, or actually Wood and I started our own little thing where we give Christmas gift cards out to teenagers every year.
Oh, cool.
So we started something of our own. But what it does is get us in front of other decision makers and caseworkers, because we're there at the event helping out, doing face painting and whatever else that they need us to do. And they get to see us on a very personal level, which allows them to think about us sometimes when situations come up that we may be a good fit for. We may have been a good fit for. Any thoughts?
Yeah.
That's my first thought.
So yeah, I mean, I think that we had asked for a little bit more information, so we knew that Dee is working with a public nonprofit agency. But I would say one of the things that you should find out is who owns your home study. So like,
Good one.
yeah, who owns your home study? Because for some agencies, the agency owns your home study, and for some places, you own your home study. So that potentially frees you up to do some of your own searching if you have direct access to your home study, and you can actually maybe facilitate some of the local searches if you're searching locally, or if you're working with a state that, an agency that does interstate stuff, you can do some of that yourself and kind of help facilitate kind of finding and searching for children that may meet your match criteria. But the other thing is finding support groups, and so with understaff, over heavy caseload agency, I don't know if they offer support groups. Certainly there are a number of them online. Thanks for joining ours. But I would say take some of them with a grain of salt and some of them really seriously, and also find out if there are other agencies, private agencies, that allow anyone who is participating in adoption searches or are members of the adoption triad to participate. Because I know I worked with a private agency, but our support groups are open to anyone in the community who meets like whatever the criteria is for that particular group. You don't have to have adopted through the agency that I went through. And so I would definitely say, go, and if there's a waiting group, go, because I was really fortunate that I didn't wait very long. But I am the unicorn and not the norm. And so but I've been in a lot of support groups where the waits were a couple of years and painful, but then there's like a flurry of activity, and I know like at least 3 couples or individuals, 1 couple, 2 singles, that have had placements in the last like month after 18 to 24 months of waiting.
Right. We didn't ask actually how long he had been waiting, but I think joining a waiting support group would actually help bring perspective on how long it is to wait. And I think it's hard because he wants to adopt a young Black boy that's in the system, and we hear all the time that there are so many young Black men, young Black boys in the system that need families, and he's like, I'm here, I want to adopt you put out the call and I'm here, and yet I'm still waiting. You mentioned home study, so that's another thing I would do is see if you can look at your home study, because there may be some things in your home study, and we had to do this. There may be some things in your home study that don't necessarily present you in the most positive light, and there may be ways to add some addendums or rewrite some paragraphs. So when caseworkers read your home studies, they'll have a different perspective. So I would definitely look at your home study too and see, what it actually is saying about you.
Yeah. And then, nest. I know, like, it seems weird, and hey Dee, I think that maybe you should blog because there's not many men blogging.
Yes, absolutely.
So come on and join the family. You are welcome to guest blog on my site anytime. Hit me up by email or tweet. But kind of sit with it and live your life. There's a blogger in Canada that I read daily, My Perfect Breakdown. Story is different than yours. However, one of the things that they're in the wait period now. They're doing infant adoption. And one of the things that she's been writing about quite a bit in the last month or two, since they've really been waiting, is how to live your life while you're waiting. You know, when every phone call kind of raises your level of anxiety because you're like, is this the one? Oh no, it's not. It's a robocall from the like presidential primaries or something. But she talks about kind of the struggle and kind of being really deliberate in both nesting, but also living your life, because your life will change so dramatically in ways that I cannot even begin to tell you, that are great and challenging. So, get it in.
Get it in. Yeah. And I had thought about, meditating a little bit, taking this time, not only living, but also continuing to think about your reasons for adopting. And just continue to soak on that. I think getting to know yourself, we all walk into this process with baggage, our own baggage, that from the way that we were raised, our relationship with our parents, whatever that we've gone through in our different relationships, and especially on our journey to parenthood. So there is definitely we talked about a support group. There's also, we advocate therapy on the blog. And on the podcast, to get to know yourself. But I just also want to reiterate, for anyone who is interested in going through the foster care system to adopt, their priority and their reason and rationale and way of approaching this is different than us as prospective parents, right? Their job is to find a home for a child, and not necessarily look for a child that's specific for you. And I think that was a hard thing for us to get to understand, because we were waiting and we were like, well, we're great and we look good on paper, and I don't understand why, we shouldn't be at the top of the list. I mean, we're a 2-parent Black household, educated and all this other stuff. And we were in the wait just like you, because they're not looking to help us parents. They're looking for the best possible place for the children that they're, charged with finding a home for. And just, continuing to keep that in mind as we go through the wait is just incredibly important.
Yeah, it's not destiny, as we mentioned before. It's right. There's a bit of luck. That's just kind of, because it really is about finding needles in haystacks that match.
Right.
And so, yeah, find some support, do some writing. Seriously, hit me up on Twitter or do some writing and think and kind of tease through some of the emotions that you're feeling, because this is a really emotionally upheaving kind of roller coaster.
Absolutely.
At every single stage. And so,
so we completely relate to you. We completely understand where you're coming from.
So, a year from now, when you're parenting a three-nager, like Mimi, yes. Or you end up with that 10-year-old and you kind of need some help with that preteen situation.
Yes.
Like, you come back, you come on the show.
With that strong man smell at 10 years old.
Don't trip. This girl's got the small chick smell too. So Febreze is your friend. So hit us up and you'll have to come on the show and tell us how parenting is going. So
I think we wrapped that one. I think we knocked that one out the park. What do you think?
Ooh, yes, absolutely. 5 stars.
So listeners, if you have any questions about fostering, adopting, or parenting children of color, and you don't mind taking advice from total noobs, Then send your questions to feedback@awaspod.com. Hey, we did not announce to the people that we have a new email address. We wanted to
Oh
try to
yeah.
get our brand all together. So our Twitter handle is AWAS pod, so Add Water and Stir pod. And our website is www.awaspod.com.
Yes.
So you can send your questions. Now you can hit us up at feedback@awaspod.com.
Yes, do that. So now to the wind down. It is September. TV is about to be back. So what's up?
So what? So first of all, I'm excited
Yes.
for the fall TV lineup and the new shows. I'm ready to get my TV watching on for the winter time. And so there's a whole lineup of new shows. Did you get a chance to check them out?
I did.
So what are you looking forward to coming back? When I wrote this, you were like, "Woo, Shondaland."
Yeah. I am about Thursday nights.
Yes.
I tried watching Grey's Anatomy. I didn't watch it last fall. I may drop back. I don't know, but I'm definitely about that scandal life. And how to get away with murder and like, wigs and scalp scratching. I am about it.
All of that, huh?
All of that. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to Shondaland, and but of course I'm also looking forward to the crazy that is the Lion family.
Oh, yes.
On Empire.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I am all about, I like Grey's Anatomy. I still watch Grey's Anatomy just so I can watch Jesse Williams because
yeah.
Yes, he's very nice.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment of silence.
He's smart. He's smart.
He is smart, dude. He is kind and he is beautiful.
You is kind. You is smart. You is fine.
Okay.
And now I'm back on to Grey's Anatomy.
Okay.
I'll be tuning in.
So
Jesse, tweet us.
And then, I think we're both wanting to come back and see Empire and see what they're up to. Although your boy has been making headlines in the news. Did you read anything about his latest article?
the why does 1 times 1 not equal 2?
Oh my gosh, what? But then I thought, you know what? This is the crazy part. Then I started thinking about it like,
no.
I don't understand how these things work. No. He almost convinced me. He almost had me.
I'm going to worry about you. We're going to pray over that. So I've read that article and was like, he has issues that he needs a professional. I can't.
Okay, maybe we should tell the audience who we are talking about. Okay, so we are talking about the TV show Empire, and the main characters, Lucius Lyon, is played by, what's his name?
Terrence Howard.
Luscious. It's Lucius, but it does look like
Luscious.
Luscious Lucius. Anyway, so not only is he a character on the screen, he is a character in real life. And we really kind of want to disown Terrence Howard, but we can't now that he's playing Luscious. So I don't know what we're gonna do with him. Just put him in a box.
Whatever. Speak for yourself. I propose a trade. I'm proposing a trade.
Okay. For who? Who are we gonna trade him for? So
anybody that will take
him. Okay. So he gave an interview and he talked about the fact that he used to argue with his teacher about why wasn't 1 by 1 1 times 1 equal to 2, or I don't know. He confused me, and now I feel like I'm falling under his mojo.
It was distressing. It was distressing and alarming.
So we'll put a link to the article in the show notes, and you can fall under his mojo too, and then walk around scratching your head about.
Like, don't look at the article directly.
Yes, obviously. But you know what? There's a couple of other TV shows that I'm interested in. Did you see the thing? What's the one with what's his name? The fine one. What's his name? I can't find. Morris Chestnut is going to be on TV.
Oh yeah.
What is his? I don't even think I'm actually interested in the TV show. It's called Rosewood.
No, I'm not.
I'm not interested in the TV show.
You can just put it on mute.
I'm just interested in watching Morris Chestnut. That's all. I don't even
you
know
just put it on mute.
What the TV show is about, but I wouldn't mind just watching it. Tisha Campbell is going to be back on TV in a TV show called Dr. Ken. And I think it's a comedy about, I think it has the guy that Ken Jeong. He's a comedy actor. We've seen him before. Yeah. Tisha Campbell Martin is going to be on the TV show. Probably won't be watching that, but
I'm gonna pass.
Yeah. Code Black, which is like a new Grey's Anatomy. It's a new medical drama, and I just really like I like medical dramas. I don't know why, you know, because there's so much ratchetness that goes on in the hospital. What about Muppets? Are you gonna watch the Muppet Show?
I am gonna watch the Muppets because, like, the whole
Denise?
like, yes, what's good, Denise? What's good? You just kind of want to go like Minaj on her, like, what's good, Denise? Like,
so
I'll be watching.
Definitely, at least watch a couple episodes of the Muppets, because I do want to see how they're gonna play this drama out between Miss Piggy and Denise. But what's the deal? Kermit really has a type. Does he only like pigs? I mean, does he not like frogs? I feel like
he likes them fluffy, girl. He likes them fluffy.
I feel like that's racial. You know, why you don't want to be with frogs? What's the deal? So,
look, he is just doing his, like, you know, he's doing his thing. Now, I do have an issue that apparently, you know, it seems to be exclusive. You know, I just wish he would kind of, you know, open up and date around, but
okay, yes, you know, expand his options.
Expands his special options.
I mean, really, have you ever seen him with a frog before?
Never.
I know. So I wonder what his mama thinks. Anyway,
I can't wait to see what Piggy does, though. Piggy is going to go off.
Narcos is on Netflix. We, you know, actually Wood and I started watching that as our little date.
Oh, how is it?
In the house, Netflix and chill situation. So it's interesting. It keeps us, he doesn't really like series, so that's actually keeping him interested to sit and watch with me. So, you know, we've been enjoying it.
Netflix and chill, huh? Okay.
Netflix and chill. You know, you could do that.
Right. Oh, wow.
So that's how we do. Let's see.
Well, I've heard that is good. I'm planning on digging into Narcos soon, because I heard it was pretty good. So they say, though, that some of the narration is excellent. The main character, is his acting is superb. Some of the critics have said that, you know, the rest of it can be a little lacking, but I'm in. I really liked Sense8.
I would agree.
Summer too, but yeah, I like a good drug drama, so I'm in.
Yes, and let's see, we got Screen Queens. Have you been seeing Jamie Lee Curtis on your? I have Comcast, so she's been doing these little interviews or whatever. Have you seen her?
I haven't. We've not been watching a whole lot of live stream here.
Get it together.
Hey, we're about that once upon a time life over here. So
okay.
We're watching that on Netflix. That is our show, and we try to watch an episode every day. That's our little bonding time. And
that's cute.
So we just finished season 1 tonight. So yeah.
Well, at least that's interesting. I get to watch an episode of Sesame Street every night. but we all
Well,
have
you
our
have things to look
things.
forward to. We briefly watched the debate. We briefly watched the GOP debate last night, which because I make her watch the news with me in the evening.
That is the fall TV lineup too.
Because it is like some of the best reality TV.
Yes, amen.
That is on. Like, it's some of the best reality TV that's on. But I had to turn it off after she was like, all of these people are stupid. And I was like, yeah, she's kind of right. She's kind of right. So, moving on. So anyway, that is on the fall lineup too.
So I got
So
a
what else
couple of
is there?
shows. Let's see. There's a Flesh and Bone show about professional ballet dancers. I think it's like a mini series. So I might, depending on what it's like, maybe Melly might be interested in that. Nana. And Blind Spot. Did you see that thing with the lady with the tattoos?
Oh yeah.
So, they pique my interest, but some of these shows are like good for 2 episodes. And then by the third, you're like, oh.
Yeah, well, the feminist in me kind of was annoyed that they were like, she's the female Jason Bourne, or maybe that's another show, same network, but there was like she's a female Jason Bourne. I was like, Jason Bourne, like, why can't she just be like this bad chick that's just doing her own thing?
Yeah, why can't she? Why does she have to be the female
anybody?
What about Being Mary Jane? Shouldn't that come back?
Oh, that should be coming back, but doesn't that come back like in the winter, mid-season?
Oh, well, I don't know.
So, well, the peaches will be coming back soon.
Who?
Housewives of Atlanta.
Oh, I was like,
yeah, Housewives of Atlanta. Neither of us kind of stuck with.
Yeah,
I just and we kind of dropped off of Love and Hip Hop this summer. It just got so ridiculous that I just, I deserve. I deserve.
Okay. Don't be mad because she is on iTunes and making her money. So I am not upset. But you know what? Listeners, please, we love to like dish about the same show every week. So ABM and I can get on schedule. If you have a show that you think would be great for us to dissect, chit chat during the wind down, let us know. Send us a tweet to AWAS pod. And let's see what they come up with. Yes. No boring shows. Yes. It needs to be a good show.
No boring show. And I do have I need a brown or black character minimum. I just need a couple.
At least a couple brown. Okay, so here are the requirements. A couple brown or black characters has to have a good balance of intellectualism and ratchetness. What else? And some, eye candy.
Yeah, and eye candy. So, but yeah, I have to say thank you, Mimi, because Grace is back in my will be back in rotation because of Jesse. My goodness, he is just delicious. So
I wonder if Don Cheadle is coming back with House of Lies.
Who? Who?
Don Cheadle.
Oh. That was the sound of ABM giving crickets. Meanwhile, I'm over here going, when does Luther come back? Where is Idris? She's over there with her Don Cheadle situation. Anyway. So there's that. So that's Don Cheadle. So one last thing on the wind down before we moved on, I did want to mention that after 30 some odd years, Vanessa Williams returned to the Miss USA pageant. That I don't know, does anybody even watch it anymore?
That's what I'm like, why even bother?
But
Miss America.
It wasn't. It was Miss USA. No, you're right. I don't know. One of them. I don't know. Does anybody watch it? I don't watch it. So anyway,
Miss America.
I think you're right. I think it was Miss America. Because
the only reason why I even say anything because
Kenya Moore.
Yes, was just so adamant about the difference between Miss America and Miss USA. We were like, I didn't know there were two different pageants.
Because I think that Miss USA is the Trump-owned one, right? Because he doesn't own Miss America, I think. Yeah.
Do you know I interviewed Miss Vanessa Williams when she won. Yes, I
Really?
did. And I think I still have the article. I might look for the article and post it.
Oh my goodness. Well, they finally, they invited her back to be head judge this past weekend, and they offered her an apology for like straight kicking her to the curb when some like provocative pictures came out that nobody would have blinked about like in today's day, but like back in what 84, it was like clutch the pearls, like oh my god. But they apologized. They apologized. They but the apology was kind of funny because
Do
I was
you see
listening
how
to
she
it.
is standing?
Yeah, she is standing like get off me, but he is also like none of us worked here at that time, so we didn't jack you. But on behalf of the organization, we really apologize for all the jacked up, messed up stuff that we did or said or made you do, and like the embarrassment that we caused your family. We are really sorry.
When you talk
So
about body language, if you see Miss Williams' body language, she is like, I am not here for your apology.
yeah, right. I mean, she was just really gracious and everything, but like she has proven so many times
Mhm.
over that, she didn't give any dangs about, that whole
Yes.
thing. Like, I mean, she
Mhm.
got Grammys, she got Tonys, she got,
Yes.
whatever. She's gone on. Like, do we even remember the names of some of the other ones?
No.
That would be more crickets. So yeah, she did more for them than they did
Mhm.
for her. So anyway,
Yep.
but I did want to mention that like apparently Demetria Lucas from Belle in Brooklyn wrote this article about how they didn't they really shouldn't have apologized for her to her because there's such the pageant scene is supposed to be so family friendly, and I'm like, okay, but they trot women out like a leg of lamb in bathing suits and then make them tap dance and stuff, whatever. Chago. So I'm glad they apologized. So that's all I had to say about Miss Queen Vanessa.
Queen Vanessa.
She's a bad chick. I love her. She's gorgeous. Gorgeous. So
So
that's it. So recommendations for the evening as we start to close out our show. What do you have, Mimi?
I actually have a website that I discovered through a tweet. It's called alliesанdagitators.com. And what
Mm.
it looks like is it's like a ongoing discussion between their names are Joy Lieberthal Rowe and Martha Crawford. They're two psychologists, and I follow Martha Crawford online, and she talks a lot about transracial adoption. She's actually an adoptive parent in a transracial adoption. So they talk about transracial adoption. They talk about the psychological and cultural impact of race and racism, and then they try to focus their discussion on the perspective of adoptees of color. And so it is very kind of intense. It's not an easy read because it's two psychologists talking, right? So they're talking in their own lingo. But if you read through it, you can really start to they're unpacking some of the ideas around whiteness, ideas around privilege. They're talking about the perspective of adoptees and our perspective as parents and the things that we need to be careful of, as well as probably unpack for ourselves. So I'm just enjoying it. They don't write very often. I think they only have 3 or 4 posts on there, but I'm tagging it because I'm hoping they're going to continue this conversation.
Awesome.
So
I will
check it
definitely
out.
check that out. So my recommendation is something that we often have recommended on the podcast, and that is self-care.
Yes.
Do it often, do it as much as you can. I'm finding now that I have a young lady in the house, I actually am starting to regain a little bit of my freedom to
Woo!
go and do some things. So I get my toes done every 2 weeks. And so, now I'm
Hey.
not looking like an eagle about to take flight.
And, I'm sure Elihu was like, hallelujah.
Yeah, he is very happy about that. But and speaking of him, like we had a great weekend away a couple weeks ago, and like we have a neighbor who like she and I will go down the street. There's a new hookah bar, and now that Hope is in high school and she's starting to flex a little bit of her independence, I'm starting to be able to flex a little bit of mine that allows me some time to take care of me. And life is a beautiful thing. So it's that again, it's something that we have long advocated since our very first show. Don't forget it, because we're often likely to put ourselves last, especially when we have kids that really, I mean, all kids need their parents, right? But our kids tend to sometimes have additional needs that really require 150% of ourselves, and that leaves absolutely, there's nothing in the tank left. So make sure that you fill your cup and fill your tank and take care of yourself and get your toes done so that you don't look like a raptor.
Yes, do that. do that. Take care of that.
If nothing else. And like, I'm actually hanging out with some other adoptive parents, and we go get pedicures together. Or like Saturday, I'm going to have afternoon tea with another parent, and we're very excited about like just getting out on a Saturday. So yeah, take care of yourselves. That's my recommendation for this week. Yay. So thank you all for listening to another episode of Add Water and Stir with ABM and Mimi. You can find all the show notes at, again, our new website, awaspod.com. It's Add Water and Stir Pod.com. You can subscribe to us and leave us ratings through iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. We absolutely love to engage with the audience. Again, thank you, Dee, for emailing us and looking for some advice. We hope that we gave you something to work with. Send us a tweet at AWAS Pod, or an email at feedback@awaspod.com. So where can they find you in the streets?
You can find me, Mimi Complex, on the Twitter at Mimi Complex, or you can read archives of my blog at Complicated Melody. That's melody with an I, so ComplicatedMelodi.com. And ABM, where can they find you?
You can find me online at the blog AdoptiveBlackMom. I hang out on Facebook. What is that? I don't know. Anyway, Facebook. It's getting late. Glass is almost empty. You can find me on Facebook at Adoptive Black Mom, as well as on Twitter at the same name. So definitely reach out to either of us, both of us, or find us on the podcast links. And we will see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks so much.
Let's announce that we have a special series coming up. We are going to be talking about school days. So just the whole process of fostering and adopting as it relates to school. And we're going to break that up into a couple of podcasts. And so that should be during the month of October. So look out for that.
Indeed. Actually, we have a couple of surveys that will also be going out.
Oh,
so
yes.
we have some ways of participating and giving us some material to talk about. And so be on the lookout for that on my blog and Facebook, and from the Add Water and Stir Twitter feed as well. So be on the lookout, and please forward it, retweet it, participate. So that we can get as much participation as possible, so that we can bring you some really good data.
All right.
All right. Thanks a bunch, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Good night.
Good night.